Hey guys, I feel like I'm on a roll with videos today, so I'm just gonna keep going. Even though I'm not gonna post them all live because that would be extra, right? So another thing I was thinking about, which my thoughts are pretty random, I will admit, but that's just who I am. So this one might be a little off the wall. I don't know if everybody's gonna be able to follow this, especially if they didn't have this experience themselves. But I'm curious if anybody else did, because I remember it specifically. So the experience that I am talking about is one where it's like the moment that I became aware of myself, right? So what that means is like, I think it was like third grade or so, I was about to give a presentation in front of the entire class. And this is funny because we're talking about memories, and I honestly, like, if someone was like, I'll give you $100 to name one teacher you've ever had, like, I could not probably remember any of their names. So it's interesting what we remember about things, but this specifically I remember in third grade, and it was probably one of my first memories. So I was in front of the class and I was about to do a presentation, or like, I don't know, some sort of project I was going to talk about, or maybe it was like show and tell, I don't know. And my mom was there, and I remember looking around at everybody and suddenly realizing that I, first of all, did not want to get up in front of everybody. And then I started to realize that everybody else there, I was like, and I remember thinking this in my head, like, wait a second, everybody else around me, all these other kids, they all have their own minds. Like, they can make their own decisions, and that's weird, And I remember just kind of, at the time I didn't know what it was I was realizing. Now looking back and thinking about this, like, throughout my life, I think it's probably the moment I just realized I was like an individual, that an awareness of self and awareness of others, realizing I can make my own decisions, whether that's good or not, I don't know, but I just remember really, like, I don't really even remember what happened after that. I'm sure I gave the thing even though I didn't want to, but I just think it's interesting that as a third grader, and even now I can specifically remember the moment when I realized that I had power of, like, voice. I could make my own choices, and then everybody else was their own separate person living their own separate lives. And it's kind of like one of those things where it's like you feel like you're living in a movie, right? And you're like, okay, well, I'm the main character in this movie, right? But in everybody else's movies or lives, they're the main characters. So it just kind of like blew my mind. And what also made me think, if I'm sure most people at some point come across this realization, but what if they don't, right? Like, what if some people just, like, live their entire lives not even, coming to that awareness that everybody is living their own lives and can make their own decisions? Like, hopefully most of us are, like, aware of that, but what if there are people that aren't, right? And I'm sure that most of us who were like, duh, obviously everybody can make their own decisions and live their own lives. I'm just curious if anybody else remembers that moment when it, like, clicked for them, like, in what age they were, and if it was like a memory that they actually remember, or if I'm just like this weird person that just happens to remember that moment of awareness, when it came alive, I guess, essentially. So yeah, if that didn't completely lose you, then congrats. You might have random thoughts like me, but yeah, share your thoughts. I'm super curious what you would call that experience, and if you've had it or heard anybody else who've had it, or if you know someone who you think honestly has been living their life and they're an adult now and they just have no concept of the fact that everybody is different, and think that they're, like, just living, they're the only ones living their movie of life, essentially. All right, talk to y'all later.